Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Making It Simple. It's Monday's edition. I'm back with you after a couple of days away. Uh, had to do some traveling to perform a memorial service for a very dear friend. You know, um, as the years go by, that's one thing that never gets easier. And I realize not everybody understands that, and I don't say that. I don't say that in any kind of derogatory way. We all lose friends and loved ones, but standing on the other side of that pulpit or lectern or music stand or whatever is used, and you're the one to perform that memorial. Uh, there's nothing like that you'll ever do in your life. It's raw, it's emotional, it's real, and it brings out the truest contents of your heart. Sometimes it's words, sometimes it's tears, sometimes it's a song. I don't talk about that to bring any light to me, other than just telling you where I was at. But as I think about those moments, and I had another one this morning. I just got in from doing another one back to back almost. And while that's some would say, well, that's part of your job. You're a pastor. Well, that's true. Uh, but it's a difficult part of my job because you see the true hurt and the brokenness in people's lives because they miss someone. And when that person is someone you personally know, it's difficult. But the one thing about that really comes out, as I shared in that opening statement, is honesty. How you really felt. The raw emotion of that is something that just can't be replicated. You know, there's good actors and there's people that can convince you of certain things when it comes to a performance or maybe a song or maybe I don't know. There could be a multitude of different things, but in that particular moment, in that setting, the real stuff's going to come out. A lot of our last several lessons, as we're going to be back on track today with where we stopped, back on, I believe it was Wednesday, was the last time we were together, is back in this conversation that Jesus is having with the religious leaders of his time. I've been trying to show you how that equates with our modern times. Is this battle, and I use that word battle. I mean, it is an all-out war, a fist fight. I mean, this is a level beyond the MMA cage or anything like that because this is completely and utterly bare fist or tape fist or what the intent is to cause harm and the intent is to maim the opponent with no rules. No holds barred, no disqualification, unsanctioned. This is as real as it gets. This battle that we're seeing with the hatred of truth. I've never seen anything like it. Now, that's not to say that all of us at some points in times have not been guilty of being dishonest. Generally, that's because of something you're embarrassed by, something you don't want someone to know because it may hurt them. And I'm not justifying being dishonest. I'm not doing that. But the level of hatred for the truth that we're seeing right now is absolutely on par with what Jesus was seeing in his day. And the reason that it was hated so terrible, it was hated at levels that are unconscionable, is because it exposed the real intentions of the heart. Just like I said, during memorial services and whatever, the real contents of your heart come out. The Bible speaks oftentimes of what dwells within the heart. And in fact, in one passage in the book of Psalms, it says that wickedness, evil, dwells within the heart. Ultimately, that will come out as well. That is why our transition into understanding salvation and coming to know Christ is transformational, because it removes that wickedness and evil and replaces it with kindness and love and peace and forgiveness and joy and all the things of the fruit of the Spirit. But the ones then and the ones now who absolutely abhor the truth, it is because that truth is as exposing as a mirror. Now, you've heard me in many of my lessons speak about that mirror moment. You, I, anybody, it doesn't matter who it is, that stands in front of the mirror, regardless of how you're dressed or undressed, it doesn't matter. This is not to be comical, vulgar, or anything else. Whatever you see, that's what's there. That's real, regardless of whether you like it or not. Jesus challenges this group, and he says to them, I've just told you the truth, and you hate me because of that. That's paraphrasing, but that's what he was saying. Later in this very book of John, as we continue to study that, he says, and if you, speaking to every believer, follow me, the world will hate you. Why? Because of the very reason that he was hated, the truth. And when one stands for that today, we're not talking about conspiracies. We're not talking about myths and legends and made up, nonsense. We're talking about real, factual, absolute, can't be disproved kind of stuff, but yet still it causes that all-out fight, that all-out war, with some willing to go to any level to stop it, to erase it, to change it, or to stop the messenger. And it really doesn't matter as to what level that has to go to. That's where we ended up with the crucifixion. They were willing to go all the way. Many today have that same heart, because they are willing to go all the way, with the motive behind it of self-preservation, positional preservation, title preservation, prominence in society, or any type of governance or whatever, which all goes back to a matter of the heart. So I want us to look at some passages today. You have to forgive me, I got to use my readers here. Not seeing very clearly today. My eyes are tired. But Jesus, he tells them, as we left off, he said, as we shared, he got really clear with them, really blunt. Said, you're of your father, the devil. Meaning that the actions that you actually portray in front of everyone has nothing to do with Abraham, certainly has nothing to do with God. It's a utter separation from those things. And so now, of course, they're very angry that he has called them, exposed them for what they really are and what they're really doing. And then he says this is important. Verse 45, John chapter 8. He says this, and because I tell you the truth, you don't believe me. You believe me not. Well, what is he trying to get across here? He's challenging them as to their motive. Why do you have something so harsh against me? Why do you hate me so bad? And he follows that up with this next statement that he gives in verse 46. He said, which one of you... Now again, he wasn't saying this to be sarcastic. He wasn't saying this to be, a jerk or anything else. He was saying, okay, here's my challenge to you. This is what he was saying. Which of you can convict me of any sin. I just want to know, what is it that you have absolute, concrete, 100% evidence of that I have done? Because if I'm telling you the truth, why don't you believe me? Are you going to allow your hatred for me, which again is not of God, and it's not of Abraham, it's not what was taught, although that's what you want to claim, that's your lineage, your heritage, your spiritual foundation, but nothing in your life is showing that. So I want to turn it around and say, okay, explain to me what it is that I have done. I want to know. We've kind of blended that in to our justice system of explain the charge, the innocent before proven guilty kind of concept. That's where that comes from. But here's the challenge. He's saying, okay, you hate me because of the truth that I've been sharing with you about everything, not just statements about me, but about everything. And yet still you don't believe me, but you can't bring one legitimate charge against me. So we go back to the truth, and he says, if I'm just telling you the truth, that that's all I've done, why don't you believe me? What's really going on here? We get back to the heart of the matter, which is the heart. And so he says, he who is, verse 47, he who is of God hears God's words. Now there, he goes back to that accusatory type statement, because he's already told him, you're not of God. That was not to be difficult. That was not just trying to be, again, name-calling or any kind of stuff. He's just saying, listen, guys, your claim is to be of God. But nothing about you acts like that. That same problem is still around. It ain't going anywhere. And he says, you therefore do not hear me. You do not hear my words, because you are not of God. Now, that's powerful, because he's not just talking to Bill Jones over here on the corner. He's talking to not only to authority, and this was not him disrespecting an authority position, because God created government. We're not questioning that. We're not saying that the idea or the concept of government or ruling class is somehow ungodly, because it's not. It's good to have good people to make decisions and to be in those positions, to take authority sometimes and do things. It's when it's abused, or it's when it's filled with those that do not have the right intention in their heart. These were not only the authority, but these were ones who claimed to be in authority in the name of God. In other words, everything that I'm doing is God ordained. Jesus said, no, it's not. Because let's get back to this issue. You want to kill me, literally. But why? What wrong have I done? What sin have I committed? I just told you the truth. It'd be no different. It's a different scenario, different level of importance. But if you go to the doctor this morning, or this afternoon, or tomorrow, or whatever, and God forbid, but let's just, you go, and they say, Mr. Smith, Mr. Harris, whatever, you've got stage 4 cancer. And you need to start getting your arrangements in order. Blood tests come back. All the lab work comes back, everything, and it's true. It's not speculated, it's true. That person of authority, that doctor, that physician, medical professional, whatever, they have told you the truth. Well, I don't like that truth, so I want to kill you. The emotion of being sad and distraught is absolutely real, no question about that. But would it justify that thought process? Obviously not. Jesus here is saying, all I did was tell you the truth. And you're angry about that. You want to kill me because of that. So I'm trying to figure out how you justify that, because clearly what you're saying is not of God. So again here, he took those who were speaking publicly, saying what they were saying, their position and whatever the case here, and he told them, he said, you're not of God. You are of your father, the devil. And what he was speaking of there, of course, was the character, the actions. He's saying, these are what your attitude is showing. This is what your actions and your just predominant feeling is showing. And those type of actions, those type of thoughts, those type of words, that desire can only come from one place, and it is not God. He's making that abundantly clear. And he said, because you refuse to hear. It is not because you cannot hear. You refuse to hear. There's two different things. Same way with seeing. It's not that you can't see it, you refuse to see it. A gigantic problem in our world today. Gigantic. And he said, I've given you the truth. I've told you the truth. I've shared with you the truth, but you won't believe it. So which one of you can convict me of one thing, just one thing, not a broad brush stroke type, one thing, what have I done? One wrong word, one wrong action, one wrong. Again, he's stating the fact what you're accusing is not real. It's not true. Now, of course, their wrong heart attitude is what he's trying to address here. And he's saying that doesn't back up anything. You can make all that up. I did a show yesterday about fear. And now sometimes fear is something that's real, but many times, maybe even more so, it's something that's made up. It's something we've been convinced is real or convinced to believe, and it was never true, ever. But we've allowed it to come in and take residence and start building this thought process and this narrative that ultimately paralyzes us and doesn't let us function. Here, it's causing a blindness. It is causing a deafness because I don't hear what you say. I don't see what you're doing because I refuse to. And so he's questioning their motive. And he's saying to them, why? Why won't you believe? I think that question is still valid because time after time after time after time, the truth is being revealed. But yet still, many with their eyes covered, their ears covered, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Because I've already accepted the official story. But the official story was never true. I mean, one of the things that I've learned working in government, when I did for all those years as an officer, and I can tell you this, and I don't say this again to be controversial or conspiratorial or anything else. More times than not, when you get the official report, it's actually the official lie. It's not what happened. Jesus is trying to get them to see this because he's saying, all I've done is give you the truth and you refuse that. Why? Why would you not want the truth? You know, if someone's going to offer you a drink and it has poison in it, wouldn't you want to know that? Aren't you desirous? Don't you want to know this might harm me? In fact, it will harm me. And the one giving it to me knows that it's there. Shouldn't they tell me that? Don't I want to know the truth? Or I just want to walk into something blindly and say, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll take that. I'll accept that. I'll consume that. And you don't know anything about it. Nothing. Zero. Wouldn't the truth be better than the rejection of that? Because if the rejection is there, it's a valid question. I say, well, what? Why wouldn't you want to know if that might harm you or not? If that might make your life better, or if it might completely end your life, whatever the case, the truth in those components is vital. It's the same way with spiritual and matters of faith. What is taught absolutely 1,000% matters. I'm working on a brand new book right now. I'm almost finished with it. It'll be out later this year. And the title of that book is one word: wrong. Wrong. Why did I write that book? Because we've allowed too many things to take precedence and predominance and everything else in our life as a fact or as a truth when it was never true. We've allowed teachings and rituals and traditions and this and that, and because so-and-so said so, to become almost indoctrinated into our minds and our thoughts that causes us to live certain ways or pattern things certain ways, and it was never true. We've been wrong for being not only involved in that for those who do those things and teach those things, but continuing to live in that. Because what it oftentimes does is cause one to no longer accept the truth when the truth is shown. And that's why Jesus said the truth will make you free. The word make there is important because then we're dealing with a choice. Here it is. And that's what he's sharing with them. I've presented you the truth. But you refuse that. You don't want that. Why? Why would you not want that? He said, because if you were truly of God, like you claim to be, you would hear what I'm telling you. Not only would you hear it, you would receive it, which is another way to say you'd actually listen to it. You would apply what it is I'm telling you, but you don't, because you don't want to, because you're not who you say you are. You see, we deal with a lot of fraud today. A lot who claim this, but it was never real. Never. Friends, we're in a very, very important time in history, in the timeline of time and space in human history, prophetically, spiritually, all these different things. And I am not a gloom and doom person. I am not the sky is falling or, I just don't do that. But here's what I do know. If we continue down this pathway that we're headed down as a nation, as a people group, regardless of race, color, or creed, this has nothing to do with that. If we continue down this pathway of embracing blatant lies, and continue to disregard the truth, it will not end well. It can't. A stop sign would be one of my last illustrations here. A stop sign means exactly that. There's a reason for that. Because that intersection, that traffic entry, whatever it is at, needs an impediment. It needs for that oncoming traffic, the direction that it's going, and you want to enter into that, you need to stop. And you need to cautiously approach that. Therefore, the stop sign or the red light. Because if not only would it be mass chaos, somebody will get hurt. That's why when people run the stop sign, when they disregard that stop sign, although it's there, and no one can deny that it's there, so that's like the truth. It's staring you right there like a big, giant, red stop sign saying, Don't do that. Don't take that. Don't listen to that. It's not about God being mean. It's not about being judgmental. It's not about taking anybody's fun. It's about saying, what are you willing to listen to? And what are you willing to refuse to listen to? Because one of them is guiding you. One of them is absolutely directing your path. Which one is it? And which one is the most beneficial as it pertains to the result? If you get bad stock advice today, your money will not grow. You will not profit. If you listen to the wrong directions, you will not get where you're wanting to go. And if you do, it's going to take you the long way around and add a whole lot of extra time and a whole lot of frustration and cost you more gas and everything else. The truth, as Jesus said, will make you free. Our real source of truth is Jesus, who is, as I continue to repeat in verse 1 of chapter 1, the Word of God. We need to listen to what God is trying to get us to see and stop putting our fingers in our ears and our hands over our eyes and saying, no, I've already got it all figured out because so-and-so on the TV said it was true. Or so-and-so told me it was okay. You better check with the one who knows before you accept whether it's okay. It'll change your life. God will speak to you. Many people ask, how can I hear God? Listen. He'll speak to you. I believe that He's speaking to you right now. I'm just a vessel, and I'm humbled and honored to be in that position. I know we went a little long today. We're pushing 30 minutes. But friends, this message is important. I cannot implore this enough to you. I'm seeing things right now that are grieving me. I'm seeing people, friends and loved ones that I'm very concerned I may never see again because of the current things that are going on and the level of dishonesty that is taking place in our world right now. God help us. It is my prayer for each and every one of you. Go back and read this. Start back at chapter 1 and read to where we are right now in chapter 7, chapter 8. And listen, and God will speak to you. It's my honor to be with you. Lord willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow for another great edition of Making It Simple. I look forward to these daily lessons of our conversational style teaching through the scriptures and from my heart. Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening.